الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمدًا رسول الله اللهم صل على محمد. أشهد أن محمدًا رسول الله. أشهد أن عليا ولي الله. اللهم صل على محمد. أشهد أن عليا حجة الله. اللهم صل. حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح حي على خير العمل حي على خير العمل. الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله لا إله إلا الله. وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وآله وسلم.
अऊज़ु बिल्लाहि मिनश्शैतानिर रजीम बिस्मिल्लाहिर रहमानिर रहीम अल्हम्दुलिल्लाहि रब्बिल आलमीन बारिअल खलाइक़ अजमईन अल्हम्दुलिल्लाहिल्लज़ी ला यब्लुगु मिदहतुहुल क़ाइलून वला यहसी नअमाअहुल आद्दून वला युअद्दी हक़्क़हुल मुज्तहिदून अल्लज़ी ला युद्रिकुहु बुअदुल हिमम वला यनालुहु गौसुल फ़ितन अल्लज़ी लैसा लिसिफ़तिही हद्दुन महदूद वला नअतुन मौजूद वला वक़्तुन मअदूद वला अजलुन ममदूद खातिमिन नबिय्यीन अल्लज़ी सुम्मिय फ़िस्समाइ बिअहमदिन व फ़िल अर्ज़ि बिअबिल क़ासिम मुहम्मद सल्लल्लाहु अला मुहम्मद व आलि मुहम्मद व आलिहि अत्तय्यबीन अत्ताहिरीन अल-मअसूमीन अल-मज़लूमीन अल्लज़ीना अज़हबल्लाहु अन्हुमुर रिज्स व तह्हिरहुम तत्हीरा अल्लाहुम्मा सल्लि अला मुहम्मद वल्लअनतुद्दाइम अला अअदाइहिम अजमईन मिनल अव्वलीन वल आखिरीन आमीन या रब्बल आलमीन फ़क़द क़ाल सुब्हानहु व तआला फ़ी किताबिहिल करीम व हुवा अस्दक़ुल क़ाइलीन व क़ौलुहुल हक़ बिस्मिल्लाहिर रहमानिर रहीम इन्नस्सलाता कानत अलल मुअमिनीना किताबम मौक़ूता सदक़ल्लाहुल अलीयुल अज़ीम सलावत। अस्सलामु अलैकुम जमीअन व रहमतुल्लाहि व बरकातुहू। सबसे पहले मोमिनीन से गुजारिश है दुआ के लिए। जो मोमिन इस वक्त मरीज़ है, बीमार है, बिलखुसूस हसन भाई हमारे अज़र शाह साहब के दामाद हैं, उनकी तबीयत ख़राब है। राहत भाई उनके वालिद पाकिस्तान में इस वक्त इंतहाई अलील हैं, और मुनव्वर शाह साहब इस वक्त बीमार हैं इस कम्युनिटी में, और जितने भी मोमिनीन मोमिनात, डॉक्टर साइमा शाह, इस वक्त जो नाम मेरे जहन में हैं, तमाम मरीज़ान मोमिनीन मोमिनात के लिए दुआ है परवरदिगार आलम शिफ़ाए आजिला और कामिला अता फ़रमाए। बेहक़ आबिद बीमार जनाब अरशाद शाह साहब इस वक्त बीमार हैं, परवरदिगार आलम इंशाअल्लाह जल्द अज़ जल्द बेहक़ आबिद बीमार सबको शफ़ाए कुल्ली अता फ़रमाए। दुरूद पढ़िए मोहम्मद व आले मोहम्मद पर। अल्लाहुम्मा सल्लि अला मुहम्मद व आले मुहम्मद। अज़ान मोहतरम, कुरान मजीद की आयत है इन्ना सलात कानत अलल मुअमिनीन किताबुम मौक़ूता, कि नमाज जो है मोमिनीन के लिए एक वक्त मुअय्यन के साथ बतौर फ़रीज़ा पेश की गई है। यानी फ़रीज़ा भी है और इसका वक्त मुअय्यन भी है। बाज़ चीज़ें होती हैं उन फ़रीज़ा होता है करना है लेकिन वक्त मुअय्यन नहीं है। लेकिन नमाज ऐसा अमल है, एक ऐसा फ़रीज़ा है कि जिसका वक्त मुअय्यन है। फ़जर का वक्त फ़जर के वक्त, ज़ोहर का वक्त ज़ोहर पे, असर मग़रिब इशा, यूँ तमाम तर औक़ातुस्सला यानी नमाज अपने अपने वक्त पे अंजाम दी जाती है। ताज़ीम परवरदिगार मौजू हमारा जारी और सारी है कि किस तरह नमाज को बेहतर बनाया जाए, किस तरह नमाज में रूहानियत को पैदा किया जाए, किस तरह नमाज में वो जज्बा और वो ईमान का जो ईमानी जज्बा, ईमानी जिसे कहते हैं, या फिर अल्लाह से करीब होना, वो एहसासात के जो एक अच्छी नमाज के ज़रिए से इंसान में पैदा होने चाहिए, उन एहसासात को कैसे महसूस किया जाए। गुज़श्ता 3-4 हफ़्तों से यही हम अर्ज़ कर रहे हैं। मकसद सलात ये नहीं है कि इंसान अल्लाह से इश्क करने लगे। बाज़ लोग सारी ज़िंदगी नमाज़ पढ़ते हैं, अल्लाह से इश्क नहीं होता। वो मोहब्बत, गरचे हर शख्स अल्लाह से मोहब्बत करता है, लेकिन कोई शख्स कह सकता है कि मुझे, मेरे दिल में अल्लाह से मोहब्बत है, लेकिन इतनी मोहब्बत नहीं है कि फ़जर के वक्त उठ के नमाज़ पढ़ूँ। मोहब्बत है, उसके दिल में भी अल्लाह की मोहब्बत है। जो शख्स फ़जर के वक्त नमाज के जो नमाज वक्त फ़जर जो है उसमें सो रहा है, ये नहीं कह सकते कि उसके दिल में अल्लाह की मोहब्बत नहीं है, लेकिन मोहब्बत के दराजात हैं। मोहब्बत के दराजात हैं। एक वक्त ऐसा होता है कि इतनी मोहब्बत है कि इंसान को फजर के लिए उठा देती है। एक वक्त होता है कि मोहब्बत है लेकिन अभी इतनी नहीं है कि फजर के लिए उसे उठाए। मिसाल के तौर पे sometimes you see a senior person, you may not like them, but out of his age you respect them. You may see someone we mentioned last week, you may not be in a good mood, but as soon as you go out, you see your neighbor, you smile at them. So just like you smile at others and strangers, you should smile at one another when you come inside the Imam Barga. Not that you come inside the Imam Barga, leave the smiles outside. Unfortunately, I see 90% of the people doing that. Recite salawat. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. You see your parents, like it or not, you're in a mood or not, Islam says you must still respect them. Father and mother especially. Father comes home, get up and say salam to him. Don't lay there with your legs stretched out. This is the father. If it was not for him, you wouldn't be here today. As the fourth Imam says, your father is your root cause. Your father is your asl. Your mother, the companion asked, the famous hadith, you've heard it. The companions asked Rasulullah, Ya Rasulullah, who should we respect? He says, your mother. Thumma ummuk. Thumma ummuk. Your mother, mother. Ta'zeem, ihtaram, respect, politeness towards the mother. And this is why we said it's more important when your child is growing up, young children. It's more important to teach them respect and politeness before teaching them hadith and nahjul balagha and ayat. At that age, it's enough to teach. First, you make them good human beings, then we make them good Muslims. First, lay the groundwork. Good human being, politeness. Then from there, you begin the training with Quran and Rawayat. Recite salawat. Imam Zainul Abidin Sayyidus Sajidin alayhi salatu wassalam. Salli ala Muhammad. The Holy Imam says, Oh Allah, make me in front of my parents like a servant in front of a strict ruler. How is a servant in front of a strict ruler? Careful, fearful, if anything, that he doesn't step out of line. That's how the Holy Imam says everyone should be in front of their parents. Now there's a difference. Do we be kind or are we comfortable around our parents? With our parents, we're comfortable with them. Of course, we're at home with them. We live with them. We see them every day in and day out. Is it more important to be kind or should we be comfortable? The answer is both. You can't be comfortable and not be kind. And you can't be kind and not be comfortable because that's your home. So it has to be a balance between both of them. Recite salawat. Especially parents. Even if the hadith says, even if you take your parents to Hajj 70 times, 70 marra, Hajj. Yet despite that, you will not be able to repay them for that which they did for you as they raised you, as you were growing up. 70 Hajj. One Hajj is hard enough. 2 Hajj, 3, 4, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70. And let that sink in. 70 Hajj. Imagine how much one Hajj costs. Today is quicker, air ticket and you fly. In the olden days, camel, horse, through the desert. Weeks on end until you reach Makkah, depending on where you're leaving and coming from. And so the reality is that no matter what we do for our parents, we will not be able to repay them. So as long as we live, we must be humble in front of our parents. Recite salawat. It's like when you go to ziyarah, when you go to Karbala, when you go to Mashhad, when you go to Qum, you go to Najaf, Samarra, Kadhimain, out of politeness, you don't just enter the haram. First, you make wudu. You make ghusl of ziyarah. If you've been traveling, you get clean, you change your clothes. And as you come to the haram, as the door of the haram, Imam Hussein, Imam Ali ibn Musa Rada, Lady Fatima Ma'asuma, all of Ahlul Bayt, when you come to the door of the haram, you don't just walk in. ताज़ीम इमाम में पहले मोमिन इज़्न दुखूल पढ़ता है. First you recite इज़्न दुखूल. I will not enter until the Imam gives me permission to enter. In Karbala, the ulama say when you go to Karbala, before you go to Abu Abdullah al-Hussein, go to Abu al-Fadl al-Abbas. Ask permission from Hazrat Abbas. And then you enter the haram of Imam al-Hussein salamullahi alayhi. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad. And so this is out of politeness to the Imam. You read the izn of dukhul. Yabna Rasulillah. Do I have your permission to enter? Yabna Rasulillah. I've come a long way. Yabna Rasulillah. I waited long time for this day. And so you prepare yourself by reciting the izn of dukhul. And that, once you enter and you go to the grave of Imam Hussein alayhi salatu wasalam, you hold on to the shrine, the zarih, that's when you let your heart out. जब इंसान ज़रिए मुक़द्दस को थाम लेता है, फिर दिल की गहराइयों में जो दुआ हो, जो अपने मौला से कहना चाहे कह दे. लेकिन ताज़ीम और एहतराम इमाम में यह है कि इंसान हरम के अंदर दाखिल होने से पहले इज़्न दुखूल पढ़े. भाई किसी आम शख्स का घर थोड़ी है. आइम्मा का घर अंबिया का घर है, आम घर नहीं है. किसी के घर में आप दाखिल होंगे बजाय इज़्न के बगैर, इजाज़त के बगैर. दरवाज़ा बजा के इज़्न लेके इजाज़त लेके आप दाखिल होते हैं. Now how can we increase that ihtaram in prayer? How can we fix that prayer? Number one is to fix recitation of prayer. The things that we recite, the ayat that we recite, जो सूरतें हम पढ़ते हैं, जो आयात की तिलावत हम करते हैं, जो दुआएं हम कुनूत में पढ़ते हैं. नमाज उस वक्त तक सही नहीं हो सकती जब तक हमारी क़िरात सही ना हो. तिलावत कुरान पाक, तिलावत सूरह फातिहा, सूरह कुल हुवल्लाहु अहद, तमाम तर वो दुआएं जो कुनूत में पढ़ी जाती हैं. The first and foremost thing to improve prayer is to improve the recitation of the Holy Quran. Especially for us, as people who are from non-Arabic languages. For us who do not speak the Arabic language, we don't understand, we don't know the true pronunciation, the makhraj, the tajweed. So we have to work extra hard. दुआ हम पढ़ें, आप पढ़ें, लेकिन उसकी क़िरात ठीक करें. और सीखने में तिलावत कुरान बिलखुसूस या फिर दुआओं की जो क़िरात है, सीखने में कोई सी उम्र की क़ैद नहीं है. इंसान किसी भी उम्र में उस्ताद को तलाश करे, उस्ताद रखे कि मेरी तिलावत ठीक करो. जब तक तिलावत ठीक नहीं, उस वक्त नमाज ठीक नहीं है. दुआएं हैं, ज़ाहिर है हम उर्दू बोलने वाले हैं, अरबी का लहजा और है, अरबी की प्रोनाउंसिएशन और है, अरबी का जो अंदाज़ है वो और है, उर्दू वाला नहीं है या फ़ारसी वाला नहीं है. ज़ाद को दाद कहते हैं, मरीज़ को मरीद कहते हैं. तो इस तरह की चीज़ें पर गौर करना बहुत ज़रूरी है, बिलखुसूस नमाज और दुआ के मामले में. अगर कोई शख्स जानबूझकर इस चीज़ पर अमल नहीं करता, क़िरात ऐसी है तो उसकी नमाज बातिल है. जहाँ तक हो सके इंसान इस पर गौर करे, मखरज पे, तजवीद पे, ज़ेर ज़बर पे, नमाज के लिए बिलखुसूस. दुरूद पढ़े मोहम्मद व आले मोहम्मद पर. दूसरी बात, नमाज ऐसी चीज़ है कि इसमें इंसान खुशू और खुजू के साथ आए और जल्दबाजी से नमाज ना पढ़े. जल्दबाजी ना करें. इंसान अब आ गया तो पढ़ ले. टाइम ज़ाहिर है किल्लत टाइम की तो होती है, बहरहाल टाइम करते रहेंगे तो फिर अपना टाइम आ जाएगा. टाइम जहाँ भी है टाइम को छोड़ दें. जो टाइम अल्लाह ने आपको दिया उस पर गौर करें. अब इंसान नमाज में आ गया, 2 जुमले सुन ले, तरीके से नमाज ऐसे पढ़े कि इंसान, यानी कि जल्दबाजी हो जाए। सुबहाना कहीं जा रहा है, रब्बी अल्लाह कहीं जा रहा है, सुबहान रब्बी अल-अज़ीम, बिल्कुल सुकून से। यानी नमाज की एक हालत है, जब तक वो हालत बरकरार नहीं होगी तब तक नमाज का आगाज़ ही नहीं है। नमाज की हालत को बरकरार रखना ज़रूरी है, और इसी में ताज़ीम परवरदिगार है। अगर इंसान जल्दबाजी कर रहा है तो किसके सामने जल्दबाजी कर रहा है? ये इंसान भाग के कहाँ जा रहा है? क्या उसे नहीं पता सारा रिस्क यहीं से मिलेगा? दुरूद पढ़िए मोहम्मद व आले मोहम्मद। अच्छा, 5 मरतबा दिन में नमाज वाजिब है, 5 times. And if you take note, namaz is the same 5 times a day. The position you stand, ruku, sajda, the same. The direction is the same. And the surat which is Fatiha is the same. The azkar that are recited, the same. So the sequence is the same. The direction is the same. You can't say today we'll pray in that direction. Direction is the same. The tartib, the sequence is the same. And the azkar or the surahs that we recite are the same. The zikrs that we do in the prayer are the same. You may say, well, Allah, I'm bored of the same routine, bored of the same direction. I want to change direction. I want to change sequence. I want to pray in that direction. But the answer is no. Because at the end of the day, it's not about your boredom. Like I said, it's not about your and my mood. It's about the secret that lies within the prayer. It's about what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants to give you through that prayer. Sometimes not in the mood for it today, Same thing 5 times a day, same direction, same sequence, and same style. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala doesn't want you to, get something used to something new every time. What Allah wants to give you is that you are in respect of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I may not like it, but I still have to do it. It's a training of the willpower. When you don't want to do it, but Allah says you do it. That's how you train the willpower. Especially the morning prayer or the night prayer, when really it takes willpower to get up. That's how you train the willpower. Recite salawat. So it's not I'm bored of prayer. Prayer is the same, sequence is the same, the direction is the same, the du'as are the same. I'm bored of reciting Surah Fatiha. बार बार वही सूरत, कोई नई सूरत पढ़ना चाहता। कहा नहीं, सूरह फातिहा के बगैर नमाज कबूल नहीं है। ला सलात इल्ला बिफातिहतिल किताब। फातिहा के बगैर तो नमाज ही नहीं है। फातिहा, वो नमाज भी वही है, फातिहा भी वही है। लेकिन जो असरार हैं, जो इसमें फ़वाइद अल्लाह ने छुपाए हुए हैं, अल्लाह चाहता है कि तुम उस तक पहुँचो। हाँ, रोज़ाना हम नमाज पढ़ें, लेकिन हम उन फ़वाइद तक नहीं पहुँचे। और जो पहुँच जाते हैं फिर वो औरफा की मंजिल पर फायज हो जाते हैं। फिर वो कहते हैं यही नमाज है, यही तरीका, यही तरतीब, इसी को और पढ़ो। दुरूद पढ़िए मोहम्मद व आले मोहम्मद पर। अज़ान मोहतरम, दर हकीकत नमाज, what namaz is teaching is ta'zeem of Allah tabaraka wa ta'ala. The honor of Allah tabaraka wa ta'ala, respect of Allah tabaraka wa ta'ala. That when you go for prayer, do not forget not rushing prayer. Do not even rush the wudu. Start from back there. Do not even rush the wudu. Do the wudu with complete attention. Look at the respect and honor, and I end with this. Look at the respect and honor that the companions of Imam Hussein had for Imam al-Hussein in the day of Ashura. Habib ibn Madahir, the companion of Imam al-Hussein, one of the greatest from amongst the Ashab al-Hussein. He says to the companions on the Laylat Ashura, on the night of Ashura, he gets everyone, he says, no one tomorrow from Bani Hashim shall go forward until each and every one of the companions has been killed. No one from Bani Hashim. will go and fight until each and every one of us go first. We go before them, they go after us. Ta'zeem of Imam Salamullahi alayhi. Look at the ta'zeem that Abu al-Fadl Abbas had for Imam al-Hussein. Whenever he would see his brother Hussein, he would never say brother. He would say Mawla. Sayyidi ya Aba Abdullah. Mawlai ya Aba Abdullah. Abu al-Fadl Abbas Salamullahi alayhi. दुआ है परवरदिगार आलम से, परवरदिगारा नमाज में खुशू और ताज़ीम में परवरदिगार अता फरमा, खुशू और खुजू से नमाज को पढ़ने की तौफीक इनायत फरमा। परवरदिगार इखलास से नियत और हुजूर क़ल्ब से इबादत करने की तौफीक इनायत फरमा। तमाम तर वो फ़वाइद जो अल्लाह ने नमाज में पहना कर रखे हैं परवरदिगारा, उन तक पहुँचने, उन तक रसाई अता फरमा। वास्ता मोहम्मद आल मोहम्मद का परवरदिगारा मारिफत मोहम्मद आल मोहम्मद नसीब फरमा। तमाम मरीज़ान मोमिनीन मोमिनात बिलखुसूस जिनका नाम लिया गया परवरदिगार, उन सबको शिफा आजिला कामिला अता फरमा। वतन अज़ीज़ पाकिस्तान की हिफाजत फरमा। तमाम शियाने हैदर करार दुनिया भर में जहाँ भी हों परवरदिगारा, जान माल इज़्ज़त की हिफाजत फरमा। बिस्मिल्लाहिर्रहमानिर्रहीम। क़ुल हुवल्लाहु अहद अल्लाहु समद लम यलिद वलम यूलद वलम यकुन लहू कुफुवन अहद। أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم سبحان من سبقت رحمته غضبه إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما اللهم صل على محمد وعلى اللهم صل على سيد المرسلين وخاتم النبيين محمد بن عبد الله صلى الله عليه وآله وسلم اللهم صل على محمد وعلى والصلاة والسلام على أمير المؤمنين وقائد الغر المحجلين أسد الله الغالب الغالب على كل غالب مولانا علي بن أبي طالب سلام عليك يا فاطمة الزهراء الصديقة الطاهرة الشهيدة والمظلومة والمقتولة صلوات الله عليها والصلاة والسلام على إمامنا الحسن المجتبى المقتول بالسم الجفا وعلى أبي عبد الله الحسين الشهيد بكربلاء وعلى 9 المعصومين من ذرية الحسين العلي بن الحسين زين العابدين ومحمد بن علي الباقر وجعفر بن محمد الصادق وموسى بن جعفر الكاظم وعلي بن موسى الرضا ومحمد بن علي الجواد وعلي بن محمد الهادي والحسن بن علي العسكري السلام عليك مولانا يا صاحب العصر والزمان بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم اللهم كن وليك الحجة ابن الحسن صلواتك عليه وعلى آبائه في هذه الساعة وفي كل ساعة وليا وحافظا وقائدا وناصرا ودليلا وعينا حتى تسكنه أرضك طوعه وتمتعه فيها طويلة برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين صلوات. There's been sad news of another explosion in Balochistan, Pakistan, where a train has derailed. Because of the explosion has been derailed, and we're not sure how many people are at the moment hurt or killed, but we pray to Allah inshallah that this number stays to a minimum and the culprits inshallah are brought to justice. Recite salawat. Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ala Muhammadin wa ajil farajah. We started last week a series of lectures on the lives of the ashab of Amirul Mu'mineen. And we've been discussing the life of Qambar, rahmatullahi alayh, who was one of the close companions and servants of Imam Amirul Mu'mineen. We mentioned that Qambar, when he came to accept Islam at the hands of Imam Ali alayhi salam, Amirul Mu'mineen changed his name from Fatah to Qambar. And after acceptance of Islam, he says to Imam Ali alayhi salam, "O Ali, Ya Amirul Mu'mineen, I do not wish to return back to my homeland. I want to spend the rest of my life at your service. And Amir al-Mu'mineen accepts. And we know Qambar never went back to his homeland. He spent the rest of his life in Hijaz. Now, the question is, what are the origins of Qambar? Where is the homeland of Qambar? Where did Qambar come from? What does history state about the early life of Qambar? Was he of Indian descent or of African descent from Habasha? Which part of the continent did he grow up? The historians, majority of the evidence in regards to Qambar and his background points to Africa, Habasha. He belonged to Habasha, Africa. And from there, when he joined Imam Ali alayhi salatu wasalam, he became one of the closest of the companions of Imam Amir al-Mu'mineen from Habasha. Now, in between the Arab world, Hijaz, and Africa and Hind, there were already a lot of business and trade taking place. People were coming and going. From, for example, Hijaz to India, they would come to the Arabian Sea. They would travel by sea. And likewise with sea to East Africa. And so, through those channels, some people had come to the Arabian Peninsula, and many of the Arabs had gone from the Arabian Peninsula to both Africa and India for business. But we find that in the early history of Islam, many people from Africa had submitted to Islam before Qambar as well. The likes of Bilal al-Habashi. Bilal, again, of African origin. Or for example, even before that, we find that in history, Africa has always been an important place, North Africa especially, Egypt. The Prophet Yusuf alayhi salam was in Egypt, in Misr. The Prophet Musa alayhi salam was in Misr, North Egypt. The wife of Hazrat Ibrahim, Hajra, the mother of Ismail, was from North Africa, from Egypt. And so we find that even one of the wives of the Prophet, Maria Qibtiyya, who had a son, Ibrahim, Prophet's son who died at a young age, one of the young sons who died, was also from North Africa. So this part of the world has always had a connection with Islam. And we find that one of the earliest or the first caravan of the Muslims that went to Africa was under Ja'far al-Tayyar, salamullahi alayhi. Rasulullah sent the early Muslims, because the pagans of Makkah were to kill them. Rasulullah sent them under the leadership of Ja'far al-Tayyar to go to Habasha. And so they went to Habasha. And Ja'far al-Tayyar, if you look into history, Hazrat Ja'far al-Tayyar was a powerful preacher, powerful speaker. Through his dalail and his proofs that he gave to the king Najashi of that time of Africa. Not only did he give them refuge, those pagan Makkans, the kuffar of Makkah, when they were coming to chasing the Muslims, he sent them back. And historians say later he himself accepted Islam. So if Hijaz is Muslim, it is because of Muhammad and Ali, and Africa is Muslim because of Ja'far al-Tayyar. The first Muslims that went there under the leadership of the brother of Imam Ali alayhi salam, Hazrat Ja'far ibn Abi Talib. Besides salawat. And so from that point on, we find that there were more and more African Muslims were joining the camps of Islam. So much so that it is said amongst the 72 of the Shuhada of Karbala, 9 were African. John, we know very famously, one of the Shuhada of Karbala, Hazrat John, was a ghulam of Hazrat Abu Zar. John, ghulam Abu Zar, was again from African descent, African origin. And so we find that from there onwards, when Qambar then accepts Islam, and the people that come with Qambar remained back. 3 people remained back. Qambar was one of them. But the rest of the 7,000 or so soldiers that came, majority of them turned back, including the son of the king, Fazl, as we mentioned last week. Fazl was the son of the king. He returned back, the rest turned back, and as a result of that, they go back and they preach Islam. So the ones who converted at the hands of Ali ibn Abi Talib then went back to the tabligh of Islam. So both. In fact, if you look at the history of India, the Indian subcontinent, Islam entered the Indian subcontinent through Imam Ali alayhi salam. Early history. And Africa through Imam Ali alayhi salam. At that time when Imam Ali alayhi salam sent someone towards Sindh, early in the time of Imam Amir al-Mu'mineen, not Muhammad bin Qasim, he was later. Before Muhammad bin Qasim, there was already someone sent to Sindh, present day, Pakistan, Karachi, that area, that province, and also towards Africa. So from that moment, Islam, the deen of the Prophet, Ahlul Bayt, these names were not uncommon amongst Indian and African territories. Recite salawat. But what do we find about Qambar in history? Not enough, not a lot of books, not a lot of writings, but we do find that he accompanied Imam Ali alayhi salam in some of the battles. Siffin, for example, we find that Qambar was there. And in fact, the special status of Qambar was such that Imam Ali alayhi salam, who himself would hold the alam in the battle, when he stopped to pray, and in Siffin, it was showering with arrows. Imam Ali alayhi salam stopped to pray. When they said to him, Ya Ali, why do you stop to pray? He says, to show them that I'm not like them. At that moment when he stopped to pray, the hadith says he gave the alam to Qambar. He says, hold it. Whenever he wanted the alam, he would say to Qambar, bring me my flag. If the cloth of the flag or the alam would get torn or ripped in the battle, he would give it to Qambar to repair it, to put a new one on. So giving the alam to someone, you only give the alam to someone who's loyal and trustworthy and brave. And Qambar was all three: loyal, trustworthy, and brave. Recite salawat. And so we find that Qambar, from that moment, gained a special position with Imam Ali alayhi salatu wasalam. I'll give you one last riwayah, and I end with this. Returning from the battle of Khaybar. As you know, who doesn't know the battle of Khaybar? I don't want to go into the details, but majority of the Ahlul Khaybar, they submitted defeat without any real fighting. Except Imam Ali alayhi salam fought some of their champions, Marhab, Haris. But really and truly, there was not really a full-fledged war. Army going head to head with another army. And so as a result of that, they said, well, leave us alone. We'll give you this much of our mal. We'll give you Bagh Sadaq, we'll give you this, we'll give you that. And so everything came to Imam Ali alayhi salam, because he was the only one who did fight. No one else participated in battle. Now, the hadith says when the Imam was now returning with the whole of the wealth or the ghanimat or malefe which was given to the Prophet, Imam Ali alayhi salam, it was loaded on the backs of camels. And as Imam Amir al-Mu'mineen got close to Medina, Qambar was with Imam Amir al-Mu'mineen. As they got close, someone came to Imam Amir al-Mu'mineen, seeing Imam Amir al-Mu'mineen, the Muslims returning so much wealth. He says, Ya Amir al-Mu'mineen, I'm hungry, give me something to eat. Imam calls Qambar. Everyone with me? Last point and I end here. He called Qambar and he says to Qambar, oh Qambar, go find where the food is and give this man food to eat. Qambar says, Ya Ali, the food has been loaded on the backs of camels, in the middle of these camels, and it's not easy to get it down now for one person. Imam Ali says, which camels are they? He says, they're the ones in the middle. He says, so go get some of those camels and give it to him. If you can't unload it, then give him the camel. Sakhawat Amirul Mu'mineen. It's not for no reason that he's known to be the most sakhi of the Arabs. That he put Hatim al-Tai to shame. That's how sakhi he was, generosity. He says, give him the camel. So Qambar, obeying the orders of his Mawla and master, he gave him the whole camel. But turned out that man was blind. So as he was giving him, the rein of the camel, he says, you take this. He said Qambar realized he's blind, he can't see. So he took a few steps back and he stood a little bit away from Imam Ali alayhi salam. And Imam Ali says to Qambar, what is the matter? You're walking with me, now you're walking a few feet behind me. He says, Ya Ali, the level of your generosity today is something else. I'm scared you might give me away because he was blind. So he needed someone to be with him, to look after with him. But the reality is that whatever Imam Amirul Mu'mineen had gained in Khaybar, it was all distributed amongst the Muslims of Medina. Sahih Bukhari says that. It says even the poorest of the poorest, after Khaybar, for the first time, they ate to a full stomach because of Ali ibn Abi Talib. First time, they said, we didn't know what it feels like to have a full stomach. They said after Khaybar, we really felt for the first time that had it not been for Ali ibn Abi Talib, we would have not even had a full stomach. This is Qambar. Inshallah, we'll continue next week. We pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Ya Allah, give us in dunya ziyarah of Karbala. In akhirah, bless us with the shafaat of Imam Hussein alayhi salatu wasalam. We pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Allah accept all of our amal, our deeds. On the blessed day of Yawmul Jum'ah, Allah accept our du'as. Anyone who is unwell amongst the mu'mineen, amongst the mu'minat, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give them shifa ajila and kamila. Pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Ya Allah, protect the lives of the mu'mineen and the mu'minat, Ya Rabbal Alameen, wherever they may be around the world. We pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, all the marhumeen who have passed from this dunya, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala raise them in the company of Muhammed wa Ali Muhammad. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Wal Asr. Innal insana lafi khusr illa alladhina amanu wa amilus salihat wa tawasaw bil haqqi wa tawasaw bis sabr.